Good evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. On this programme, up hill and down dale, we saddle up for the Tour de Yorkshire, a boom industry, digital gaming in our region, and I'll be talking to local author Lynette Creswell. Welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Riches. First of all, it's over to Richard Morris for the news headlines.
Hello there. This afternoon, Greg Clark MP, the Universities Minister, visited the Grimsby Institute to sign the Humber Growth Deal. The Humber Local Enterprise Partnership is announcing the investment provided as part of the Regional Growth Fund by the government. Our area will be affected, including investment for Cleethorpes Market and other projects.
We're backing success. Anyone that comes to this area, north or south bank of the Humber, can see that it's an area that's on a roll. We've got companies coming in investing, we've got new jobs being created, business, local councils, universities and colleges, all working together to build on the strengths of this area. And that's allowed us to say we're going to put more money in the hands of local people to back a winner.
Humberside Police are still continuing inquiries to establish the circumstances and formally identify the body of a man found with serious injuries on Bethlehem Street in Grimsby yesterday morning. Locating his next of kin is underway, and as we know more about this story, we'll bring you it here on Estuary TV. BP has announced jobs will be lost at its Salt End facility in Hull. The changes will happen in the company by the end of this year. BP has said that some of the current work carried out by the facility is no longer in its focused technology strategy, meaning that they will no longer look at carrying out the work. In a statement, BP UK said that they are making strategic changes to its conversion technology operation. It may result in 100 roles being lost in the UK and US. They reiterated that they are committed to working closely with affected employees during the consultation and transition period. Hundreds of jobs could be created in Yorkshire and Humberside by a major new wind farm. An offshore wind farm was yesterday given the go-ahead by central government and could support 900 green jobs in our region. 400 wind turbines will be constructed 130 kilometres off the coast of the East Riding of Yorkshire. It will provide enough energy to power almost 2 million homes. That's all from me for now, and I'll be back with more news soon. If in the meantime you've got any news for us, then please call us on Grimsby 01472 31553. Bye for now.
Last summer, one of the greatest sporting spectacles passed through Yorkshire. The Tour de France has been running for over 100 years and, of course, mainly runs through France. But areas of North, West and South Yorkshire had the chance to be part of it with a Grand Départ. At the time, East Yorkshire felt slightly left out. So now, after the popularity of last year's event, the race will pass through our area. But there is concern. Local hotel owners are not reporting the success enjoyed during last year's showpiece event. Dan Kemp has been along to Beverley to find out more.
The Tour of Yorkshire will start in our region on the east coast in Bridlington before heading north. It then returns to our patch as it passes through Beverley on its way up to York on Saturday, the 2nd of May.
Well, it's not just Beverley, with the starts in Bridlington, day 2 virtually spends the whole day in the East Riding. So the benefits are we're probably looking at least 1 million visitors, local people involved, so it's that spending power in the local economy. And actually you've got national TV, international TV, really high profile things and absolutely tremendous, so we're delighted to be part of it.
The anticipation is clear, and with good reason. Last year's Tour de France boosted the economy of Yorkshire alone by £102 million, of which over half came from the public's pockets, and 500,000 people committed to visiting again within 3 months of the tour. 1 million people paid for accommodation in Yorkshire, while visitors staying for an average of 3.1 nights during their trip. Total revenue generated from accommodation came to over £20 million, but according to one Beverley guest house owner, it seems that these benefits aren't being seen just yet.
So far not really, but we're talking about 3 months away, aren't we? 2nd of May, isn't it? It comes past here on the 2nd of May, and I would expect bookings to start picking up in the next month or so.
This is the feeling shared by many other hoteliers in the town. All but one have stated they've had no increase in bookings. Hotels in the centre of the town have commented that there have been no real increase in room uptake and the bookings are the same as usually can be expected. But with still 3 months to go before the start of the first ever tour of Yorkshire, there's still plenty of time for bookings to go up.
I'm sure, they're expecting more than 1 million spectators, and they had about 3.5 million for the Tour de France that came through Yorkshire last year. So I'm pretty sure that we'll be absolutely packed on that day at least.
And John has some big plans for the day of the event.
I'm quite excited. It's coming right past the front of the house here, going up to the end and round to the left. And I was thinking maybe we could set some tables up and have teas and coffees outside while they all ride past. So it's quite an exciting opportunity.
You're watching Estuary TV News. A little later, Dan Kemp will bring you all the sports news, and we'll still be trying to work out what you say. I'm joined by Lynette Creswell, local author whose work has attracted the attention of Hollywood moguls. Lynette, welcome. Thank you very much for coming onto the programme.
Thank you, Hugh.
Before we start talking about Hollywood, let's have a quick look at some of your work. Defenders of Magic, Sinners of Magic, Betrayers of Magic. This is a trilogy, clearly.
It is.
And I think that's a very good illustration of the kind of work it is.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Well, a girl with a dragon. There we are. Get it in the camera, the lights are on it. What sort of books are these? What are they about?
Well, these are fantasy novels, obviously. It's about a 16-year-old girl. The backstory is that I've created a magical world with lots of immortals and lovely little beings. And in this world, you cannot procreate with anybody outside of your own realm. And we have a magician and an elven princess who have an affair, and she gets pregnant. And the elders find out, and of course they're mortified that she's having this child because she's got more power than anybody else in their entire world. So they banish her to live with the mere mortal folk. What happens then, 16 years later, the story unfolds when Crystal starts to have sort of magical powers. She doesn't realise quite what's going on. She's got a little inkling. And then because she saves a young boy's life by using forbidden magic, this actually alerts the elf realm to what she's doing. Then there's a war coming there, so now they want her back.
This is, it's a great sort of cathartic kind of fantasy and magic tale, isn't it? Because everybody really wants to suddenly discover they've got magical powers.
Absolutely.
And so it's a great sort of extension of every reader's imagination, I guess, isn't it? In that
I think
sense?
so. I think we all want to have immortal parents or something special, and I think that's why the books are so popular. And of course, the actual journey that she goes on to find out that the woman who she thinks is a mother isn't obviously a mother, and then she has to go out and find out what's going on and where her birthright is. And obviously all the wonderful people and the characters, the elves, the witches, the warriors, they're all in there. You've got everything.
And it sounds like a kind of Tolkien, not a homage to Tolkien, but it's in that tradition, isn't it?
It is, because you've got the realms, and I think that's why everyone sort of picked up on that. But also you've got the modern side of it as well, because with Crystal being brought up in this world, she's living with a single parent. So you've got both sides, and I think that's why people like it, because you have got both sides of the coin with it. You've got the magical side, but then you've got the everyday living kind of side of it too.
How did you get into writing?
I've always written since I was a little girl, literally. And I think, I said to somebody the other day, you're born a writer. I think it's there. You just have to know and have your talent shown one way or another. And what I did was I got involved with the Chernobyl children about 10 years ago while my husband was still in the forces. I did a lot of articles for them for the newspapers, and that's when really I started to write sort of professionally. But once my children started leaving home, that was when my husband bought me a laptop and said, come on, Lynn, it's time now for you to do something a bit more substantial. Get writing that book.
You're self-published. Now,
I
just
am, that's
explain
right.
to me how that works,
Okay.
the self-publishing business.
Well, the self-publishing means literally that I am the publisher. Normally what you would do is once you've written your book, you would then try to go and find a publisher that will publish it for you. But now it's made a lot easier where you can actually do that yourself. What happened to me was I actually did have a publisher all lined up, and then they went bankrupt. So I was left in a limb of wondering what to do. And someone suggested for me to go self-publish, and a lot of people have got this sort of image that if you self-publish, your books aren't as good as everybody else's, which is a load of tosh, really. If you've worked as hard and you've got your editor and you've got your proofreaders.
Well, you have employed editors and proofreaders, so you are effectively a little publishing house in your own right. What sort of sales have you
Sales are
got?
good, and that's the main thing. I think it's harder because when you're on your own, you do the marketing and you have to do everything, the publicity yourself. Whereas if you've got a publisher, if they're a big publishing house, chances are they will obviously help you. So it's been, you know, social media is an amazing tool, especially with Facebook and Twitter. And they're really how I got all my contacts, how people find me. It's an amazing, and it just starts rolling word of mouth, and then all of a sudden you just take off.
But you do have to do, or you meet your own printing costs for the hard copy versions. You have to do your own marketing, your own distribution, sort out your own tax, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely, yes.
But in return, rather than getting just a 15% royalty from your publisher, presumably just from the business side of things, you get to keep the lot.
You do. You know, you've got to pay your tax man like anybody else. But on the whole, whereas if you get a publisher, which is what I did in America, with my short story, what happens is I never know about my sales. I never know how well I've done until my royalties come in, and that's the difference. Whereas with this, I get twice a year. I get a list of every book I've ever sold, so I know exactly where everything's gone and who, you know, what, like with Waterstones or anything like that. Whereas if you have a publisher, it all goes through them, and you just then get the money at the end of it.
That short story in America, that was published by somebody else.
It was Solstice Publishing in America.
And you did that, what, just to say, you know,
just to prove a point. Because people were saying to me, oh, well, you just self-publish then. I thought I would prove a point by finding a publisher, which I did.
And how did it do?
It rocketed to #4 on the bestsellers chart within 24 hours, which was absolutely amazing. Knocked Nora Roberts off the top spot, which was just phenomenal for me. And I think that was when everything really changed, to be fair, that people realised I was a serious contender, and that I was going somewhere with these books, and they were popular.
The other side, of course, is that the electronic publishing, and that has absolutely no printing costs, of course, and no distribution costs, and more people are reading electronically than they are off ink and paper, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
So you're publishing electronically as well, I take it?
I am. All my books you can find on Kindle, and it's quite strange. The beauty of Kindle is that you can see instantly, pretty much, a couple of hours that when someone's bought a book, so you can see your sales pretty much straight away.
You better just tell me where people can go on to get electronic or hard copy books very quickly.
They're on amazon.co.uk,
yep.
Or you can get my books from Waterstones, or you can find my website and you can get signed copies from there.
Now, tell me about this Hollywood connection. Are we going to see this work on the big screen?
Well, we hope so. It's still early days yet, but what happened was Matt Kennard, who did Fantasy Island last year, was a film producer who came over. He absolutely loved the stories. He's not the man for the job because you're talking millions of pounds.
Because it's fantasy. Because it's so expensive to create your monsters and wizards and dragons.
Yeah, exactly, all the special effects. But he's got 2 contacts in America. One works for the powerhouses of Hollywood, and the other one, Lance Reynolds, he does more for TV. Now I know that Lance has got them on his radar, but Bernadette Elliott is actually reading them at the moment. So fingers crossed something might happen.
Who would be, let's say that it's going to be on the big screen, who's going to play your heroine Crystal? Who's it going to be?
I've always gone for Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think she would make a really good elf.
She's got what it takes, has it?
I think so. And Liv Tyler would be Amela, who would be her mother. And
of course, you have to have an English actor to be the baddie.
Well, I've got too many. With having 3 books, you'd be amazed how many I've got.
Lynette, thank you so much for coming on. Please don't go away.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Millions play video games every day. The industry continues to grow, and companies and schools are jumping on the bandwagon to capitalise on its success. Dave Nunn picks up the console.
It's an industry which is growing and that people are keen to capitalise on, which is why School in Grimsby is encouraging students to take courses on video game design.
Well, we've given our learners the opportunity to come and sample some of the fantastic, creative situations that exist at the Institute. So they've been making videos, they've been building worlds, animations, any kind of computer. And we believe that learning is not just about the academic side, which is obviously very important, but it's also about making sure they are as creative as possible and get that link between the academic and the creative side.
As seen with attendance at last month's Humber Global Game Jam event, the industry is becoming more popular with younger people. According to UK Innovation Foundation Nesta, the industry is worth around £1.7 billion to the UK economy, with over 1,900 businesses making games. Also, the rise of purpose-built studio schools around the UK are pushing games as an educational medium, and that's something that the Humber area is jumping on board with.
Engineering and healthcare are obviously very big industries locally, but you're absolutely right. What's emerging now is the creative and digital side. Thousands and thousands of job opportunities that come up, some jobs that don't exist yet. So we're very keen to see it happen at the Academy.
For students who often play games, it's a new experience to learn how their favourite games are made.
I play some games, but nothing like this. This is sort of the basics to how to learn to play the games and learn how to make them. It's interesting to know how the games work and the background of gaming and the people who work here.
With the industry continuing to grow and an increased interest from students, it looks as if the Humber region will become a major player in the UK games industry.
And Richard Morris has come back to reveal the inner workings of local government this week. Richard.
Hello, Hugh. Yes, I dashed through from the green screen. I got here just in time.
Don't worry, glad you did. What's going on?
Well, there's all kinds of interesting things. On the 26th of February, North East Lincolnshire Council are meeting to discuss today's budget report and that kind of thing. This afternoon, the council had a meeting in which they debated the future of the budget and that kind of thing. But what the salient points of it really are essentially increases in council tax by 1.98% every year going into 2018-19, an increased use of reserves at the same time, so also sort of going into these savings that many councils across the country have, and decreasing their reliance on central government and, but unfortunately still suffering further cuts to budgets as a result.
So they're sort of they're putting their hands in their pockets and coming up with their savings and,
yes.
and charging everybody a bit more.
Yes, and of course, obviously there's lots of things now within North East Lincolnshire which aren't actually directly controlled by the council anymore. Things like Links Inspire took over libraries and all of the local leisure centres and things like that. These have been sort of slightly controversial moves, obviously, and we're looking at a period of time when council tax is still going up, but people still aren't getting out of their council maybe what they once did. So, this will obviously be quite a controversial move on the 26th as to whether or not it gets approved. The debating this afternoon obviously took place and, obviously as that moves forward, we'll keep on reporting on it on Estuary TV.
Excellent, that's West Lindsey, OK.
That's North East Lincolnshire Council, sorry, I apologise. West Lindsey, there's a couple of very interesting planning applications coming up in West Lindsey. The Lander Enterprise Road, in Caister, they appear to be developing business units there. This is from a company in Nottingham. They've submitted an outline planning application for development of 9 B1 business units, which is like landscaping and all kinds of other things. So we could be seeing a kind of shopping hive coming to Caister.
Well, that's a good sign, isn't it? That is good. A symptom of a healthy economy.
I sounded slightly cynical then. I didn't mean to.
No, that's a happy thought, though, isn't
it? Yes, yeah. It shows obviously that businesses clearly are being attracted to local things, and whether or not that's to do with the local growth that obviously we reported on in the bulletin, presumably it's somehow linked.
No controversy to that. No, nobody's.
No, apparently not. I mean, it's open. The public consultation period, obviously, for all application process. These are all open at the moment, so obviously people could come forward and say, "Well, I'm not very pleased about this." Change of use of land on Legsby Road in Market Raisin to become a touring caravan site for 24 pitches.
Did you say a Victorian caravan?
No, a touring caravan site. And so, that'll have sanitary facilities and a shop and that kind of thing. That, once again, also under public consultation, there could be a little bit more sort of, controversy there.
The caravan sites always are. There's always that little fight over them, isn't there?
Yes, and have we got time just for one more?
Richard, forgive me, I'm terribly sorry. I'm going to have to close you down, but thank you very much for coming in. Time now to further explore the local lexicography in What You Say.
Cider. Oh, you're bare, innit? You're bare.
What you supping? Don't know that one.
Not beer, beer.
That's your drink.
What am I supping? What am I drinking?
What am I supping? Like drinking.
What having to drink?
That means what you're drinking.
What you're drinking?
Having a drink. It's having a drink. What type of beer having, or what type of drink?
What are you drinking?
Drinking a cup of tea.
What are you drinking? Half a bitter.
Half a bitter.
Supping. Well, booze. Tea.
Now here's the sport with Dan Kemp.
Scunthorpe United defeated League One playoff rivals Chesterfield last night by 2-0. Niall Canavan and Paddy Madden scored for the Iron in the game at Glanford Park, which showed United's credentials for a playoff push. The side are up to 14th in League One, just 5 points from 6th place Doncaster Rovers. Scunthorpe are at Preston North End on Saturday, who sit in 4th. Hull City loanee Tom Ince scored twice for Derby County last night in their 3-3 draw at Rotherham United. Ince's side terms until the end of the season in the Midlands after finding his opportunities limited at the Tigers during the first half of the campaign. Ince has already scored 5 times during his short stay with the Rams. Jonathan Margate scored a hat-trick for Hull City under-21 side in their game last night. The fixture against Hartlepool United's equivalent team at North Ferriby United finished 3-1, with the young City striker scoring all the goals. After leaving Hull FC, centre Joe Arundel has signed for fellow Super League club Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. The 23-year-old has been at the KC for 3 years, having signed from Castleford in 2012, and his deal lasts until the end of the season. Across the city, and Hull KR under-19s ran in a 36-6 victory over Wakefield. It was the first competitive game of the season for the Robins youngsters, which saw halfback Marvin Lee start his season with 2 tries. And finally, in Yorkshire County Cricket Club, they've confirmed the re-signing of New Zealand international Kane Williamson. The Kiwi batsman has signed for the Tykes for the last 2 seasons and is now committed to featuring in the final 3 games of this season's county championship. He averaged 57 runs last year on the way to Yorkshire's title. And that's all for the sport.
Thanks very much, Dan. I'm still with Richard Morris. Richard, thanks for staying. I did want to ask, what preparations are you making for the general election?
All kinds of things. Obviously, we're doing all sorts of research here at Estuary TV because I believe we're doing our big, long sort of 7th of May broadcast, aren't we, into the very early hours.
In the morning of the 8th of May, yes, that'll be a live broadcast.
Yes.
Count all the coverage coming in there.
And of course, before then, we've got all the Hot Topic election specials with yourself coming up.
I noticed, yes, I was aware of that. In those, we have almost all the candidates coming up for each of the constituencies, although for some of the constituencies, only 1 or 2 candidates could make it, but I think they should prove to be extremely interesting. You'll be covering it on the news as well, I take it?
Yes, of course. We're going to get all of the local election coverage as much as possible into my bulletins and also just across Estuary TV.
And the onus is going to be rather on the news rather than Hot Topic, I'm afraid, for the local elections.
Yes.
That you're going to be covering them. All the local elections, all the cities, all the counties. Yes. Richard, I'm glad we've communicated that successfully. That's all we have time for, I'm afraid. If you have a story, then please go to our Facebook, Twitter pages, details on the screen. You know where they are. Do get in touch. Grimsby 31553. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Thursday will be cloudy and breezy, probably with rain at times. It may become drier for a time in the morning before further rain spreads back in during the afternoon and a maximum temperature of 9 degrees. Probably becoming wet on Friday with some snow possible on hills.